He abandoned me at birth. Now I'm claiming everything. The email arrived at 6:14 a.m., while Maya Osei Kim was still in her scrubs from a night shift at Grady Memorial, standing barefoot in her Atlanta kitchen with cold coffee in one hand and her phone in the other. Her reflection hung faint in the dark microwave glass across the room. She looked at it a beat too long, the way she sometimes did, trying to decide which half of her face she was supposed to trust. Subject: Notice of Inheritance, Estate of Kim Tae-jun. She read it twice before her legs found the chair. Her father was dead. Not that he had ever been her father in any way that counted. He was a name on a birth certificate, a photograph her adoptive mother kept in a shoebox she thought Maya didn't know about, a silence that had followed Maya through 29 years of being asked, "What are you, really?" by strangers who couldn't decide if her skin or her eyes told the truer story. Kim Tae-jun had abandoned her mother, a Ghanaian nurse working a contract in Seoul, before Maya was even born. He'd never called, never written, never once, in 3 decades, tried to find out if she existed. And now, according to a Seoul law firm with a name she couldn't pronounce, he had left her something. She almost deleted it. Almost. The flight was 14 hours of turbulence she didn't feel, because her mind was already circling the same question. Why now? Incheon Airport swallowed her in fluorescent light in a language she didn't speak, and for the first time in her life, Maya understood what it meant to look like she belonged somewhere and feel, instantly, that she didn't. Koreans glanced at her twice, the height, the skin, the unmistakable foreignness of her posture, and she felt Atlanta pulling at her like a phantom limb. Somewhere overhead, an announcement dissolved into syllables she couldn't catch, and she found herself nodding along to nothing, the way you do in a dream where everyone else knows the rules. The law office was glass and marble, 40 floors up, the kind of altitude that made her ears pop. A translator sat beside the attorney, a thin, precise woman named Ms. Han who delivered the will's terms like she was reading a grocery list. Ms. Han's tea sat untouched, a thin skin already forming on its surface, and across the table Sua's knuckles had gone pale where she gripped the arm of her chair. Kim Tae-jun had left Maya 28% of Kim Logistics Group, a shipping and freight empire worth, Ms. Han said without blinking, approximately $400 million. Maya didn't feel joy. She felt sick. Because sitting across the table, arms crossed, jaw tight enough to crack walnuts, was a woman who looked at Maya like she'd arrived to rob a grave. "So you're her," the woman said in flawless, furious English. "The one he threw us away for." Her name was Kim Sua, 34, the legitimate daughter, the one who had stayed. "I ran his company for 6 years while he was sick," Sua said afterward, in the elevator, refusing to look at Maya directly. "I missed my own wedding anniversary trip because a shipment got seized in Busan. I sat by his bed every night for the last 4 months while he forgot my name from the morphine. And he left you, someone he never met, more shares than his own grandchildren." "I didn't ask for this," Maya said. "No," Sua said. "You didn't have to ask. That's the whole problem." The elevator doors opened. Sua walked out without another word, and Maya stood there long enough for the doors to close again, alone, 40 floors above a city that was supposed to be some kind of homecoming and instead felt like enemy territory. The company put her up in an apartment in Itaewon, Tae-jun's, apparently, one of several properties now legally half hers. It still smelled like him, according to the housekeeper who let her in, cedar and cigarettes, a smell Maya had no memory of and no right to recognize. That night, she found the second thing he'd left her. Not in the will. In a drawer. A letter, unopened, dated 11 years ago, addressed to an address in Atlanta that no longer existed. Stamped, sealed, never sent. Her hands shook opening it. The paper had yellowed at the folds, gone soft and brittle the way things do when they've been touched by indecision more than time. "To my daughter," it began, in careful, uneven English, clearly written with a dictionary close by. "I am a coward. I have been a coward for so long that I no longer remember what bravery feels like." He wrote that he'd tried twice to find her. Once when she turned 18, once when her mother died, a fact Maya hadn't known he knew. And both times his own father, the family patriarch, had threatened to disown him and strip Saw's inheritance entirely if he acknowledged the foreign child. He wrote that he told himself he was protecting Sua. He wrote that he knew it was a lie. "I have run a shipping company my whole life. the letter said, and I could never find the courage to send one envelope 5,000 miles. He signed it. He never mailed it. Maya sat on the floor of a dead man's apartment and cried for a father she'd spent her whole life insisting she didn't need. She brought the letter to Suwa 2 days later, against every instinct that said don't. Suwa read it in the doorway of her own office, standing, not inviting Maya in. Her face didn't move until the second page, when something in it cracked, fast, and then sealed shut again, like a door slamming on a draft. He told me you didn't exist, Suwa said quietly. For 30 years. My whole childhood. I thought I was the only thing he had to prove himself worthy of. Do you understand what that letter means? It means he chose the lie over both of us. Not just you. I'm not here to take anything from you. You already did. The moment you were born. Sua's voice cracked on the last word, and for the first time, Maya saw not an enemy, but a woman who had spent her whole life competing with a ghost she didn't even know was real. I could sign my shares to you, Maya said. Right now? I don't need his money. I never needed his money. Sua looked at her for a long moment. That's the version of this story where you get to be the better person and I get to be grateful, she said. I don't want your charity, either. The twist came from where Maya least expected it. Ms. Han, the attorney, cornering her alone 3 days later in a tea house near the Han River, sliding a second document across the table. There is something the will does not say, Ms. Han said. Because your father instructed me not to disclose it unless both his children survived him and were in the same room, at the same time, of their own choosing. The document was a restructuring clause. If both daughters, acknowledged, together, publicly, chose to run Kim Logistics jointly, the 28% became 60. Controlling interest. Not a gift. A test. He built one last condition, Ms. Han said. To force the two of you to do the thing he never could. Maya laughed, short and disbelieving. He couldn't even send a letter, and he expected us to become a family in a boardroom? He was, by every account, Ms. Han said, folding her hands, a very good businessman and a very poor father. Perhaps this was the only language he trusted. Maya told Sua everything that night. In a rooftop bar overlooking a skyline neither of them had grown up believing was theirs to inherit. Below them the city blinked on in scattered pieces, and for a while neither of them spoke, the silence doing something the last 4 days of arguing hadn't. She expected fury. She got something stranger, a long silence, and then, quietly. He was always trying to control things from beyond his own failures, Sua said. Even his death has strings attached. So we say no, Maya offered. Both of us walk. Split whatever we're each legally owed, sell out, never see each other again. That's an ending too. Sua turned her glass slowly on the table. Or, she said, we do it exactly because he wanted us to. Not for him. For us. So that 30 years of 2 little girls being lied to weren't for nothing. Maya searched her face for the sarcasm, the trap. She didn't find one. You hated me 4 days ago. I still don't know if I like you, Sua said. But I'm tired of being the only one who stayed and the only one who's angry. Maybe there's a version of this where staying wasn't a punishment and you showing up isn't a theft. They signed the restructuring papers on a rainy Tuesday, in the same glass office where Maya had first learned her father's name meant nothing and everything at once. Ms. Han watched with the faint, satisfied expression of a woman who had waited a long time to see a dead man's last gamble pay off. Maya didn't fly home to Atlanta that week, or the one after. She didn't know yet if Seoul was home, or if home was even a place anymore rather than a decision she'd have to keep making, over and over, the way Sua had decided, every single day for 6 years, to stay. She looked out at a skyline that still felt borrowed, belonging fully to neither the city behind her nor the one she'd left, and for once, that felt less like a wound than a starting point. But for the first time since the email arrived at 6:14 in the morning, Maya wasn't waiting to find out what she was. She was choosing it. If you enjoy emotional storytelling, cinematic drama, adopted child stories, secret child revelations, Korean family drama, betrayal and redemption, wealth inheritance, corporate family conflict, mixed race identity stories, and heartfelt YouTube series, this story is made for you. What would you do if the parent who abandoned you left you everything? Tell us in the comments below because your feedback keeps us going and motivated to produce quality and non-time wasting contents like this. Please don't forget also to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more unforgettable cinematic billionaire dramas, emotional family stories, and life-changing plot twists every week.